Okay, today we will be looking at expanding brackets and multiplying polynomials. And this is quite a simple technique, and we'll start with the basics. And once you've got a grasp of the basics, it is pretty much just following the recipe. So let's take a look at a very simple example, and that is 8 times this bracket, the component of this bracket. So it's 3 plus 5 times by 8. Now, intuitively, we know that 3 plus 5 equals 8, therefore 8 times 8 equals 64. So we know what the answer is, but if we use a certain way to go about it, it will then make it easier to figure out in the general sense. So let's give you an example. So to do the 8 times 3, what we need to do is we need to times everything in the bracket by the 8. So 8 why is my pen not working? Okay, some reason my pen's not working. Yep, 8 times 3 equals 24, plus 8 times 5 equals 40. So the answer to that is 64, which is what we sort of knew beforehand. So let's look at this using some algebraic formula. So instead of using numbers, we'll be using variables. So same thing again. So how do we expand this term here? So a times b, okay, equals a times b plus a times c, a times c. And that's the answer there. Let's move along to this one. So now this one is 2x times the bracket. Okay, and inside the bracket we have x minus a. So let's have a look at this. So we go 2x times x equals 2x dot. I'm using the dot to mean multiply. And one of the reasons why we don't use the traditional arithmetic time symbol is because it's too easy to get confused with x in algebraic equations. So we have 2x times x, and then 2x times minus or negative a. Okay, so this is important. So we have a positive 2x times minus a. A positive times a negative equals a negative, so that's going to be negative 2xa. Now, not only do we have to expand, it's always important after we've expanded to simplify. Okay, so what I mean by simplify is we need to make this look a little prettier, for want of a better word. So 2x times x, so x times x can be rewritten as x squared. So we would write 2x squared minus 2. Now, we could write x times a, but I guess the convention is to probably write 2a times x. It really doesn't matter because, you know, x times a is the same as a times x, which is the same as, so that whole thing is, you know, it doesn't matter, but it just makes it look a little nicer. So 2ax, and that's the answer there. Okay, so now we're multiplying two binomials together. Okay, so it really is the same process. Okay, it's exactly the same process. It just involves a few more steps. So let's work through this. So we go a times c, okay, is a c a times d. So that's plus a d. Now let's move on to the b component. So b times c is positive bc. B times d is positive bd. And again, there's our answer there. And finally, let's multiply. This one's going to be a little bit more tricky, but not only because there's more steps involved. Let's multiply. Let's find the product of two, and we'll call these trinomials because they've got the three things in them. But a trinomial is just a subclass of a polynomial. So let's do this. And what we might do is we might use some color coding for this one, because where it's easy to come unstuck is basically to get confused as to what you've done. So let's start with red. So we have 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times x is positive x. 1 times x squared is positive x squared. Okay. Now let's look at the minus or the negative x. Okay, so let's move along. So negative x times 1 is negative x. And remember, a negative, and that negative there, the negative sign actually belongs to the x. A negative times a positive is a negative. Okay, negative x times positive x is minus x squared. Negative x times x squared is negative x cubed. Okay. And finally, we will multiply everything in the second bracket by positive x squared. So positive x squared times 1 equals positive x squared. Positive x squared times x is going to be positive x, positive x cubed. And finally, positive x squared times positive x squared is x to the power of 4. Okay, so let's go back to black. Now, if you lost me on the x squared times x squared, you may have to revisit some tutorials regarding multiplying of powers. But basically, it's sort of what the sort of theory is, and I'll just go down here. Actually, I'll write up there is that x squared equals x times x. So therefore, x squared times x squared equals x times x, that's the first x squared, times x times x, so which is basically x to the 4th power raised to the power of 4. Okay, so we have expanded. All that's left now is for us to simplify. Now, to simplify, what we do is we group like terms and eliminate anything we have to. So what I mean by that is we have a positive x there and a negative x there, so they will cancel out, just like plus 1 minus 1 equals 0. So plus x, take away x, leave 0. Plus x squared minus x squared cancels out, minus x cubed plus x cubed equal cancels out. And so the answer is 1 plus x squared plus x to the power of 4. And that's the answer to the last one. So as you can see, it is very much a process. Okay, the process is you take each individual number, letter, component in the first bracket, and then you times each of the other numbers, components in the second bracket, and you just do it progressively. And doing this, you can, multiply. It's the same. You can multiply any size polynomial together and expand. So the key basically is the first thing you need to do is you need to expand, and then you need to simplify. Okay, and that's really all there is to it. If you have found this or any other video informative or helpful, please consider liking and subscribing and sharing with your friends.